Ok, nós vamos falar sobre gratidão.
We're going to talk about gratitude.
É. E eu vou começar lendo para vocês uma matéria, uma publicação médica da Universidade de Harvard.
And I'm going to start by reading a publication from Harvard University.
Essa publicação afirma que existe uma forte relação entre gratidão e felicidade.
This publication affirms that there is a strong correlation between gratitude and happiness.
A gratidão, ela ajuda as pessoas a serem mais positivas, a aproveitar melhor os momentos da vida.
Gratitude helps us to enjoy more moments, the moments of our life.
And help us to be more positive people. Yeah. E também a lidar melhor com os problemas.
And help us to handle better life issues.
E também tem influência na melhora da saúde e constrói relacionamentos mais fortes.
It helps with your health and well-being and helps you to develop stronger relationships.
E essa matéria da Universidade de Harvard, ela pode ser resumida numa frase de um psicólogo americano, né? Se chama Martin Seligman.
And this article can be resumed to one sentence by the psychologist Mark Seligman.
Não é a felicidade que nos torna gratos, mas a gratidão que nos torna felizes.
It's not happiness that makes us grateful, but it is gratitude that makes us happy.
Isso é importante a gente guardar, né? Que a gratitude produz felicidade. A gratidão produz felicidade.
It is important for us to remember that gratitude generates happiness.
E a gratidão, ela precisa ser uma atitude primária na nossa vida. Ela tem que anteceder a alegria.
And that gratitude is the first. It comes first before happiness. It happens first before happiness.
Tem pessoas esperando, quando as coisas se resolverem, então eu vou ficar feliz e eu começo a ter motivos para agradecer. Tem pessoas que pensam assim.
There are those who think that once his situation changes, then he will have a reason to be grateful, and then he will start expressing gratitude.
Tem pessoas que você fala assim, você precisa aprender sobre gratidão. E a pessoa já te responde, é porque você não conhece a minha vida, você não sabe o que eu estou passando, não tem jeito de ser grato em meio ao que eu estou vivendo.
And there are people that will tell you, you don't understand my situation. There's no way for me to start from a place of gratitude from where I am right now.
E sabe por quê? Porque o ingrato, ele é infeliz.
And that it's because the person who doesn't practice gratitude is an unhappy person.
Se a gratidão traz felicidade, a ingratidão traz infelicidade.
If gratitude generates happiness, the lack of gratitude generates unhappiness.
E aonde não há gratidão, existe murmuração.
And where gratitude is lacking, you will find murmuring.
Vamos ver o que Paulo fala a respeito disso aos Romanos, capítulo 1, versículo 21.
Romans chapter 1, verse 21. Let's see what Paul is talking to the Romans in regards to gratitude. For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened.
Yeah. O fato deles não terem dado graças, de se tornarem gratos a Deus, os tornaram fúteis e os seus corações se obscureceu.
The fact that they were ungrateful to God made them futile, and it darkened their hearts.
Irmãos, esse é o texto que respalda que Paulo fala sobre gênero na Bíblia. Começa a tragédia do homossexualismo a partir da ingratidão.
Gentlemen, the tragedy of gender confusion and homosexuality, it starts from a place of lack of gratitude, according to Paul.
Todas as vezes que a gente não consegue ser grato a Deus, em todas as situações que nós estejamos vivendo, a gente abre espaço para que o nosso coração se escureça.
Every time that we fail to move towards God with gratitude, we allow our hearts to be darkened.
Você pode até estar caminhando com Deus, mas quando as coisas acontecem diferente de como você gostaria, e você começa a ter uma atitude de ingratidão com relação a Deus e com relação à vida, você vai se esfriando e vai começando a ter pensamentos fúteis sobre a vida.
You may even be walking with God, but if you fail to live a life of gratitude, you allow your hearts to become futile, and your attitude towards life changes, darkening your heart.
I told this, I believe that you forgot something. When you are walking with God and the things happen different than
That's right.
what you hope, what
You expect.
You expect, so you become frustrated, and e essa ingratidão surge no coração.
And that leads to lack of gratitude and a darkened heart.
Vamos ver a história de Judas.
Let's look at Jude's story.
Lucas capítulo 22, versículos 47 e 48.
It's actually Judas in Luke.
Lucas
chapter
22, 47 e 48.
47 and 48. All the way down there. And here it is. While he was still speaking, there came a crowd, and the man called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He drew near to Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus said to him, Judas, would you betray the Son of Man with a kiss?
Eu fico imaginando o que foi essa cena para Jesus.
I pause to imagine what that scene could have looked like from Jesus' perspective.
Porque Judas não foi só ingrato, ele foi desleal.
Because Judas wasn't just ungrateful, he was not loyal.
E aqui existe mais uma base, mais um princípio para a gente aprender. Todo ingrato é desleal.
One more principle for us to learn. Every person who is ungrateful is not loyal.
Fique atento com pessoas que estão ingratas, insatisfeitas à sua volta. Elas vão ser desleais.
Pay attention to those who are ungrateful around you, because at one point they will prove not to be loyal.
Pessoas assim se relacionam a partir dos seus interesses pessoais.
People like that, they relate on the basis of their own personal interests.
Judas tinha um interesse. Ele queria ser o ministro da fazenda do reino de Jesus.
Judas had one purpose. He wanted to be the treasury ministry of Jesus' ministry.
Quando ele descobre que Jesus começa a falar, não, meu reino não é desse mundo, é necessário que eu vá para o Pai, eu vou morrer, ele fica completamente frustrado, porque os planos dele não eram esse. Então, a ingratidão por tudo que Jesus fez a ele, leva ele a ser desleal, porque ele tinha um plano pessoal a cumprir.
When Jesus started talking about the end and expressing to his disciples that he was going to leave, that he would have to die so that he could go and be with the Father, Jesus disappointed Judas because he realized that his expectations couldn't be met in that way. He had his very own personal interests in that relationship, and the direction that Jesus was taking his ministry was not the direction that Judas expected, and that started generating this lack of gratitude and this disloyal attitude in his heart.
E isso acontece com aqueles que estão perto, com aqueles que se aproximam.
And that is what happened to those who are close and those who get close and start approaching you.
Você vê aquele caso dos 10 leprosos que chegaram próximo a Jesus.
Let's think of the 10 lepers who approached Jesus.
Jesus curou os 10.
Jesus healed the 10 lepers.
Jesus não curou os 10 de uma gripe.
Jesus did not heal them from the flu.
Jesus resolveu um problema social que eles viviam, porque eles eram rejeitados pela sociedade, eles não podiam ter convívio.
Jesus resolved a social problem that they had. They could not relate to people. They could not live in community, in a healthy community.
Jesus reintroduziu eles na comunidade.
Jesus reintroduced them into community living.
E depois, apenas um que era samaritano voltou para agradecer.
And then only one of them turned around and came back to express gratitude to Jesus.
E como Jesus fazia para lidar com isso na sua vida? Com a
And how
ingratidão.
did Jesus deal with the lack of gratitude around him in his life?
Daqueles que ele cuidou, daqueles que estavam perto e daqueles que se aproximavam só por interesse.
How did Jesus deal with those to whom he cared for and to those who approach him on the basis of their own self-interest?
Como é triste você se dedicar às pessoas, você servir, você aconselhar, e de repente você vê essas pessoas a quem você cuidou, amou, se afastarem, e não só afastarem, criticarem, maldizerem, se tornarem, parece que inimigos daqueles que um dia cuidaram.
How sad it is when you take the time to care for individuals. You give of yourself, from your time, from your resources, and suddenly they turn away from you and speak ill against you and in strong opposition, and even gossip against you because those expectations were not met, and there is this lack of gratitude in their lives.
Hoje, atualmente, eu cuido de aproximadamente 150 pastores, de diferentes cidades, regiões, de diferentes países.
Today, I attend to just about 150 ministers, pastors from different backgrounds and in different countries.
E no cuidado deles, uma coisa que é muito comum é você ver esses pastores sofrendo pela ingratidão que receberam de pessoas.
It is very, very common that I run into pastors who are suffering because they are dealing with the lack of gratitude of people people to whom they invested their lives in ministries.
Pastores que deram suas vidas por outros, investiram financeiramente e de repente se veem abandonados pelas pessoas que eles tanto amaram.
Pastors who have invested in the lives of others, they have sacrificed, given their lives, and people just turn their backs on them and walk away.
Alguns deles eu tenho visto mais recentemente entrando em depressão.
And more recently, I even see some of them struggling with depression.
E eu tive que começar a buscar em Deus por que eles sofrem tanto com isso, e Jesus lidou com as mesmas coisas. Todos os seus discípulos o abandonaram, o traíram, e Jesus não entrava nesse buraco. Jesus não entrava nesse lugar de sofrimento. Jesus não entrava em depressão. Jesus sabia lidar com a ingratidão.
And I start asking the Lord the cause and what was leading these pastors to struggle with depression. And the Lord starts showing me that Jesus dealt with similar situations because each one of his disciples at one point turned their backs on him, walk away from him, denied him even.
E vocês querem saber o que tem de diferente em Jesus e nos pastores?
Would you like to know what is the difference between the way that Jesus dealt with that situation and the pastors, and how the pastors deal with their personal situations?
Porque o que o Espírito Santo me mostrou não foi muito fácil de falar para os pastores.
Because what the Holy Spirit showed me was not easy for me to relay to the pastors.
Eu estava em oração e perguntei ao Senhor, como que o Senhor lidava com isso? Como homem, como que o Senhor lidava com isso e não sofria? E quando o Espírito me deu a resposta, eu falei, meu Deus, eu vou ter que falar isso para os pastores.
And in prayer, I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, as a man, how did you handle that situation? How did you respond to the same situation that these pastors are going through? And that's when the Lord spoke to me, and I paused, and I said, I can't believe am I going to have to share this with the pastors?
E quando eu perguntei, Senhor, como que o Senhor enfrentava essa situação, né? E a única resposta que eu ouvi do Espírito Santo, né? Jesus como homem sempre foi grato em todo o tempo.
And the only response that I receive as I am asking the Lord this question, how did Jesus, as a man, handle a similar situation? And the Holy Spirit said that Jesus at all times practiced gratitude.
E daí eu entendi que esses pastores que reclamavam da ingratidão, eles também não eram gratos.
And that's when I understood that those pastors who suffered with the lack of gratitude, they themselves were not grateful.
Porque uma das características da gratidão, preste atenção, uma das características da gratidão é que quem é grato não espera a gratidão dos outros.
Because one of the characteristics of gratitude is that the one who is grateful, he does not demand gratitude from others.
E isso é muito forte.
And that is very powerful.
Abra a Bíblia agora em 1 Tessalonicenses capítulo 5, versículos do 16 ao 18.
Let's look at 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, 16 to 18.
Esse texto também é muito importante, você pode deixar ele marcado aí na tua Bíblia, anotado, ele é muito especial.
This is a very special text in the scripture. You may want to highlight it. Rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you.
Existem 3 comandos.
There are 3 commandments.
Se alegrar sempre,
to rejoice always,
orar sem cessar
to pray without ceasing,
e dar graças em todo o tempo.
and to give grace, give thanks in all circumstances.
Isso aqui não é uma opção. Está falando assim, essa é a vontade de Deus em Cristo para todos nós.
This is not an option. This is the will of God for us at all times.
Agora, como que eu faço para estar sempre feliz?
So what do I do so that I'm always happy?
O que a Universidade de Harvard descobriu agora, Paulo já dizia aos Tessalonicenses há 2000 anos atrás.
What Harvard University had to research and find out recently, Paul had already communicated to the Thessalonians 2,000 years ago.
Não tem como você se alegre sempre se você não for tomado por um espírito de gratidão.
There is no way to have happiness if you were not immersed in a spirit of gratitude.
A gratidão é uma atitude que é gerada em nós a partir da vida no Espírito.
Gratitude is an attitude that is generated in us through our lives in the Spirit.
E assim como nós falamos as semanas atrás a respeito de excelência como um atributo do fruto do Espírito, a gratidão também é a manifestação do Espírito de Deus que flui em nós.
In the same way that we spoke about excellence a few weeks ago as a manifestation of the presence of the Spirit, a fruit of the Spirit, gratitude is also present in us as an outcome of this work of the Spirit in our lives.
E assim como todo ingrato, ele é desleal, a gente viu isso em Judas, toda pessoa grata, ela manifesta lealdade.
And in the same way that the ungrateful is not loyal, every person who is immersed in a spirit of gratitude expresses loyalty.
Teve uma pesquisa feita por um banco canadense que provou que todos os clientes que eram leais a eles eram leais porque eram atendidos por funcionários que sempre diziam a eles no final do atendimento: muito obrigado, foi muito bom estar com você.
A research by a large Canadian bank found that the most loyal customers were those who frequently were um, um, served by cashiers who expressed gratitude.
Travou aí, está me ouvindo?
Uh-huh.
Tá?
Sim.
Ok. Então, isso é uma. Existem leis do Senhor que regem o universo, você acreditando nelas ou não.
There are some principles that rule the universe, despite you believing in them or not.
Por exemplo, a lei da gravidade. Você fala, eu não acredito que ela existe. Não tem problema. Se você jogar uma pedra para cima e ficar embaixo, ela vai cair na sua cabeça, você acreditando ou não.
If you decide that you're not going to believe in gravity, it doesn't matter. All you need to do is to get a brick, throw it up in the air, and stand in its trajectory, and you will suffer the consequences of gravity, believing in it or not.
A lei da semeadura, aquilo que você semeia, você colhe. Você pode não acreditar, mas ela funciona para uma semente de laranja como semente, como funciona para aquilo que você semeia na vida das pessoas em atitude de gratidão ou desonra.
The law of sowing a seed. You may believe or you may practice it or not, but what you sow in somebody's life, you will receive in the same measure. In the same measure that you sow, you will receive.
A gratidão, ela produz não só lealdade, mas ela gera aquilo que comumente a gente fala assim, dívida de gratidão. Você já ouviu essa expressão?
Loyalty generates what we call a debt of gratitude. Have you heard the expression debt of gratitude?
A dívida de gratidão é porque a pessoa grata, ela quer de alguma maneira expressar a gratidão dela a alguém pelo que fez ou pelo que é.
The debt of gratitude is the desire to express your gratitude to someone in some way.
Não existe gratidão que não se manifesta externamente.
There is no gratitude that is not manifested outwardly.
Se você fala que você é grato, mas nunca teve uma atitude de gratidão, você não é grato.
If you say that you're grateful, but if you don't have but if that doesn't translate into an attitude of gratitude, that is not gratitude.
Vamos ler um texto, Lucas capítulo 7.
We're going to read a text in Luke chapter 7.
Do 37 ao 50.
37 to 50. And behold, a woman of the city who was a sinner, when she learned that he was reclining at table in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster flask of ointment, and standing behind him at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears, and wiped them with the hair of her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with the ointment. Now when the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man was a prophet, he would have known who and what sort of woman this is who is touching him, for she is a sinner. And Jesus answering said to him, Simon, I have something to say to you. And he answered, say it, teacher. A certain money lender had two debtors. One owed 500 denarii and the other 50. When they could not pay, he canceled the debt of both. Now, which of them will love him more? Simon answered, the one, I suppose, for whom he canceled the larger debt. And he said to him, you have judged rightly. Then turning toward the woman, he said to Simon, do you see this woman? I entered your house. You gave me oh, I entered your house. You gave me no water for my feet, but she has wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You gave me no kiss, but from the time I came in, she has not ceased to kiss my feet. You did not anoint my head with oil, but she has anointed my feet with ointment. Therefore I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But he who is forgiven little loves little. And he said to her, your sins are forgiven. Then those who were at the table with him began to say among themselves, who is this who even forgives sins? When he said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace.
Amen. Esse texto tem muitas lições.
There are many lessons in this text.
É interessante que Simão, o fariseu, ele não falou nada, ele pensou consigo mesmo. Ah, se esse cara fosse profeta, ele não deixava essa mulher tocar nele.
It is interesting to see how Simon didn't really say anything about the situation that he was seeing. He just thought it in his head and in his heart.
E então Jesus ele vai para cima de Simão, daquele fariseu, confrontar o pensamento que ele teve. Ele não falou nada.
And Jesus' response was in response to a thought that Simon had in his head, in his heart, not something that he spoke up outwardly.
E nesse confronto, Jesus fala exatamente daquilo que nós estamos falando. Você está criticando a atitude dessa mulher pelo seu passado, mas você não entende nada de gratidão, porque você não soube expressar gratidão desde que eu cheguei na sua casa.
And that goes to what we are talking here, where this man is criticizing that woman's attitude and Jesus' response to that. But from the moment that Jesus walked in the house, Simon did not have the ability to outwardly express something because that was not his heart.
E às vezes nós não tomamos o cuidado de manifestarmos gratidão com quem tem caminhado do nosso lado a vida toda.
And sometimes we fail to express gratitude to those who have spent their lives on our behalf and walked side by side with us all of our lives.
É mais fácil você demonstrar atenção e gratidão com um estranho do que muitas vezes com a tua esposa, com teus filhos, com o teu pastor, com o teu discipulador, com aqueles que fazem parte da tua vida no dia a dia.
It is sometimes easier to be grateful and express gratitude to a stranger than it is to express gratitude to your wife, your children, your pastor, and those who have diligently devoted themselves to you throughout your whole life.
A nossa gratidão a Deus é expressa na nossa gratidão pelas pessoas que Deus colocou na nossa vida.
Our gratitude towards God is manifested from our ability to express gratitude to those who have invested themselves in our lives.
E a nossa gratidão, ela é proporcional ao quanto nós compreendemos da onde o Senhor nos tirou e aonde o Senhor nos colocou.
And our gratitude is proportional to our ability to be grateful to God for what He's done to us and where He's led us to.
To understand where we were, where we are today. When you understand this, you become grateful. Is this the situation of this woman in the text? You know, it's proportional. Quanto mais nós reconhecemos o tamanho da salvação, mais gratidão toma as nossas vidas.
Our lives are invaded with gratitude with the same proportion that we understand the greatness of our salvation.
Sábado eu fui convidado para pregar num retiro de jovens, num sítio aqui perto da cidade.
Saturday, I was invited to speak at a youth conference that was taking place at a farm nearby.
E eles sempre separam dos jovens para acompanhar os pregadores.
And they always select one of the youth to come alongside the speaker for that day.
E quando eu cheguei lá, um jovem veio abrir a porta do meu carro, perguntou se eu queria alguma coisa. Apóstolo, estou à tua disposição para te servir. Você quer jantar? Você quer comer alguma coisa?
And as I was parking, this young man walked up to my car, and he even opened the door, and he welcomed me, and he said, "Apostle, can I help you with anything? Have you had dinner already? Can I'm here to serve you in any way you need."
E eu fiquei pouco constrangido com aquilo, porque eu já vi muito abuso de pastores que fazem uso disso para oprimir pessoas.
And that attitude humbled me, because I've seen situations where people in positions of authority, spiritual leaders, pastors, they've abused those who made themselves available to serve them.
E a pastora que era líder daquele retiro veio falar comigo, né? Porque eu fui sozinho me servir para jantar. Eu falei, não, fica de boa, não precisa, eu me sirvo. Daí a pastora veio conversar comigo.
And I in response, I dismissed this offer, and the pastor who was leading the conference approached me and came over to talk to me.
E ela falou assim, Cristiano, eu gostaria que você permitisse que esses jovens fizessem o que estão fazendo a você, porque nós estamos trabalhando, estabelecendo uma cultura de honra, e para eles é motivo de muita gratidão. A gente não pode achar normal receber pessoas como você que tem inspirado tanto a vida deles e eles querem te servir. Isso é uma cultura que da maneira correta tem que ser estabelecida.
And the pastor came up to me and she said, Chris, I want to encourage you to allow this young people to serve you because we are working on establishing a culture of honor. These are people who have been inspired by you. You've led them and taught them, and we want to give them an opportunity to serve.
E daí eu entendi e eu chamei o rapaz, o Rafinha, né, que eu já conheço. Eu falei, Rafinha, estou de boa aqui, o que você queria falar para mim? Ele falou, não, você já jantou? Eu preparei uma sobremesa especial para você. Eu falei, beleza, pega lá.
So I turned and I saw that young man and I called him over and I said, hey, Rafinha, I know him. I've known him for some time and I recognize him as his role as someone who was there to help me and serve me, and he asked me if I had dinner already, and he said, Apostle, I prepared a special dessert for you today.
E daí ele veio até a minha mesa com a sobremesa e ele mandou fazer essa toalha para mim, ó, para eu pregar com ela. É uma toalha preta, tem a Harley e fala assim: Jesus é o caminho e nele eu vou de Harley.
So he after dinner he came and he brought me this dessert he had prepared, but he also had this gift for me. He had this towel custom made, which says, Jesus is the way, and I will get to him riding my Harley.
E ele esse jovem, ele é um cantor de rap, ele estava enfiado na droga quando ele chegou na igreja, estava completamente perdido.
And this young man is a young man who comes from a culture of hip hop. He's a singer, and when he came to our church, he was deep in the world of drug addiction.
E, na verdade, aquela situação no retiro me levou a refletir monte de coisas.
And the truth is that situation in that retreat, in that conference, led me to think about so many things.
E a minha dificuldade em receber aquelas atitudes de gratidão é porque eu acabei percebendo que eu perdi na minha vida essas atitudes de gratidão em relação a pessoas.
And the hard thing was for me to realize that my difficulty in receiving these expressions of gratitude, they were a manifestation of something that has happened to me along the way, where I stopped appreciating those expressions and expressing it myself.
E domingo foi dia que eu fui pregar sobre isso na igreja, sobre gratidão.
And on Sunday, I spoke about gratitude at our church.
Se vocês quiserem ver, não sei se dá para pôr tradução simultânea no YouTube, mas eu não conseguia falar durante a pregação, tanto que eu chorava.
And as I stood there, at one point, I was unable to speak during the message. I don't know if it's something that we could translate, but I stood there unable to speak because it was very emotional for me, and I started crying.
Eu olhava para todas as pessoas que estavam na minha frente e eu tinha tanta gratidão por cada uma delas, minha esposa, meus filhos, meu pastor, que é o meu sogro, amigos, irmãos que tiveram do meu lado nos momentos mais difíceis. E eu comecei a falar sobre isso e de repente eu olhei para a igreja, estava todo mundo chorando.
And as I stood there and I look and I see my wife, I see my children, I see my pastor who is my father-in-law, and I start looking and being overwhelmed with gratitude. And I start seeing faces in the crowd and finding gratitude towards all those people that I've known, and I couldn't help but be inundated with this sense of gratitude, and I start crying.
E o Senhor falou claramente comigo: gratidão tem que ser expressada.
And God clearly spoke to me that gratitude needs to be manifest.
Quando Paulo escreve aos Coríntios, em 1 Coríntios capítulo 9, versículo 11,
When Paul writes to the Corinthians, in 1 Corinthians capítulo
9, versículo 11.
9, verse 11. If we have sown spiritual things among you, is it too much if you reap material things from you?
Paulo estava falando a uma igreja que estava experimentando diversos dons, que Paulo estava dedicando a sua vida, mas era um povo ingrato.
Paul was speaking to a church where there was an abundant manifestation of gifts, and Paul had invested in their lives spiritually, but Paul was also experiencing a lack of gratitude from that community.
E Paulo fala com muito cuidado e zelo, como um pai, e fala assim: será que vocês não conseguem ver o depósito espiritual que eu estou deixando diante de vocês e vocês não podem expressar em reconhecimento de honra algo material por tanto que vocês estão recebendo no Espírito?
And Paul was calling them out because he had made a large spiritual investment in their lives, and there was a lack of gratitude being reciprocated from the church of Corinth. And Paul kindly nudges them along and wakes them up to their lack of gratitude.
Então, Paulo estava falando o seguinte: a gente precisa aprender a honrar com palavras, agradecer o tempo todo, mas manifestar materialmente.
And what Paul goes on to teach them is that we must honor with words, we must express with attitudes. E a parte final, Cris, que você falou?
Honrar com palavras, agradecer o tempo
Honor,
todo e manifestar
be thankful.
essa gratidão materialmente.
Okay. So Paul was teaching them three principles: to honor with their words, to express gratitude, to give thanks, and to express their gratitude through an attitude of giving.
E quando você vê o que a atmosfera de gratidão produz em um ambiente, você vai entender a frase que eu vou te dizer.
And when you understand what the atmosphere, the environment of gratitude does to the environment, you will understand what I'm going to say next.
A frase que eu vou te dizer é o seguinte: a gratidão antecede o milagre que você está esperando.
Gratitude precedes the miracle that you may be waiting for.
Leia agora João capítulo 6, versículos do 8 ao 12.
John chapter 6, 8 through 12. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what are they for so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." Now there was much grass in the place, so the man sat down, about 5,000 in number. Jesus then took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated. So also the fish, as much as they wanted. And when they had eaten their fill, he told his disciples, "Gather up the leftover fragments, that nothing may be lost."
Jesus é colocado numa situação bastante difícil.
Jesus finds himself in a difficult situation.
As pessoas que o seguiam estavam debaixo de muito sol e uma multidão de quase 10.000 pessoas, porque eram 5 homens, mais mulheres e crianças.
And the people who followed him on that day were a multitude of maybe 10,000. Men were counted, but women and children had not been counted.
E chegam diante de Jesus com a seguinte situação: olha, eles estão com fome, o que vão fazer? E de repente alguém apresenta: olha, tem um jovem aqui com 5 pães e 2 peixes.
And a problem is presented to Jesus. This crowd is here and they are hungry, and what can we do to help them? And all of a sudden somebody steps up with some fish and some loaves.
E eu fiquei me pegando, imaginando se fosse eu nessa situação.
And I kept thinking, what would I have done had that been me in that situation?
Quando eu estou diante de uma situação que precisa ser resolvida e preocupado com as coisas que têm que ser resolvidas, e alguém chega com uma ideia absurda, completamente impraticável.
When I am concerned, very concerned about whatever situation it is, and someone approaches with a ridiculous idea, something that is not practical.
E com certeza eu ia falar assim: meu, deixa eu pensar aqui, fica quieto, que ideia ridícula.
I would certainly dismiss and say, come on, man, just let me keep on trying to find a viable solution here.
Mas Jesus, ele tinha uma característica que me chama a atenção. Ele dava graças por tudo que chegava às suas mãos.
But Jesus had a different attitude. Jesus was grateful for everything that was presented to him,
mesmo que insuficiente.
even if it was not enough.
E quando ele agradece a Deus, ele simplesmente começa a distribuir o que ele tem na mão e aquilo vai se multiplicando enquanto se distribui.
And when he is presented with the situation and an answer that doesn't seem a logical response, Jesus' reaction is to present it before God in an attitude of thanksgiving.
E quando ele distribui, começa a se multiplicar.
And at the moment that he starts to distribute, a miraculous multiplication takes place.
Então, a nossa atitude, quando as coisas chegam nas nossas mãos, tem que ser a gratidão.
So that teaches us that our attitude when something is presented to us needs to be first gratitude.
Pode ser um salário insuficiente, pode ser um pagamento que você achou que era menos do que você merecia receber. E nós precisamos aprender a dar graças o tempo todo.
It could be your paycheck for the month, and even if it was less than what you had expected, be grateful. Have an attitude of gratitude.
E como eu falei para vocês, eu vou precisar sair. A Leila já veio me chamar aqui por causa do horário, mas eu quero só falar para vocês 3 coisas.
As I said, I'm gonna have to run. My wife already popped in the office here to give me a heads up, but I want to leave you with this final 3 things.
Que nós possamos permitir que a gratidão se torne um hábito, um estilo de vida.
Make gratitude a habit and a lifestyle.
Comece a olhar as situações das mais simples da sua vida e comece a ser gratos por ela.
Look at those situations in your lives, even the most simple situations, and be grateful for those.
A primeira coisa que nós precisamos observar na nossa vida para ser gratos são as pessoas que Deus colocou ao nosso lado e não as coisas.
The first thing we need to be grateful for are the people that the Lord surrounded us with and not the things.
E para essas pessoas, expresse gratidão.
And for those people, express your gratitude.
Fala o quanto essas pessoas são importantes para você. Expressa com palavras.
Let them know how important they are for you. Express that with words.
E na medida que for possível, presenteie, compre coisas, expresse, demonstre materialmente que essa pessoa é importante para você.
And in whatever way that is possible for you, express this gratitude in material ways. Give a gift. Present those to whom you're grateful with something tangible.
Porque nós, dessa maneira, estamos dizendo para Deus que nós entendemos o que de fato tem valor na vida.
Because in that way we are expressing also to God what is really valuable to us.
Amen. Guys, I'm going to I need to go, but I'm going to left you here. You can use the platform, and after I'm doing the things, I can close here. Okay, you can
Okay.
spend the time to discuss what we talking this morning. Could be.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks
Bye,
very
guys.
much.
Love you.
Yep.
I'm gonna kind of who needs to leave here soon? Who has to run in just a moment here? Do you guys have a minute, everybody?
I'll get about 10.
Okay. Okay. So last week, I was kind of keeping you guys posted on what was happening with Goody, and so the judge in California accepted his attorney's request to lift the state, his debt with the state, which was because of the violation of his parole, to pay back to the state the time that he owed, that he violated his parole in jail. So that was the debt for his violation. He violated almost a year of his parole. And so the state of California, if they caught him, they would put him in jail for a year, right? So that had been 10 years, and so many things happened, so many good things. Anyway, so when I get news that the judge decided to forgive his debt and allow him to stay in the state of Washington, and for the next year, all he has to do is to call his parole officer and say, I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. I'm employed. If the parole officer decides to ask him to do a drug test, he needs to go get a drug test, which is not a problem because he doesn't even drink. I was elated. I was jumping up and down. Then I go see the guy, and I see zero gratitude coming out of him. I was so mad. I was so mad. And it's not because I've invested emotionally, I've invested financially, I invested of my time. It was because I couldn't understand. He said that because on December 3rd, he's going to call in to the court and the judge is going to speak to him and tell him, hey, here's what the law says, this is what you need to do. And the judge is going to give him a speech and then tell him that he is what the sentence is. He's been waived of his penalties. And he said, Adriano, until I hear that, this is not real to me. And that is because the system has failed him so many times that he needs to hear it from the judge. And for me, there was a disconnect there because I trust the system maybe a little more than he does. And I know that if the judge told his attorney that he accepts his petition, the judge is going to make sure that it happens. And I was angry that there was no gratitude. And I let him know. And that didn't go well. We had a little heated exchange where I told him that I couldn't understand how yeah. So I go into this week and I tell Wendy, I say, you know what? And then I bring it home. I said, we need to be grateful. We need to be grateful, and then I start noticing my kids and I told Wendy, I said, we need to make an emphasis. This became an emphasis in my house this last week. And then Chris starts with this. So, I think I need to give him some grace because, like I said, as I took the time to think about his situation, it's a guy who's dealt with a failed system. He does not trust people or things or state or anything. He reacts to fear. But it's something that he needs to grow into. There's no excuse. He's walking with God, he's loving Jesus, and it's time to learn that. But as his mentor, in one way, I need to be kind and be patient there. Be gracious. So that's how this, as Chris started opening his mouth in the beginning of this last hour, I'm here going like, but then the question is, why was I so bothered? Was I really not expecting that he would say, thank you, Adriano, for all you did? You know what I mean? So this is something that I need to kind of evaluate here in my heart. Was I expecting? Yeah. So that's something that I need to be asking here this next few days. Keith, you have to run, right?
Yeah, I do.
Go
But
ahead.
one thing that I was thinking throughout a lot of this was the question of what's your level of expectation, right? Did you have too high expectations? Did the pastors that Chris was referring to have too high expectations? Do we need to just lower our expectations, or do I just I consider myself a pretty grateful and thankful kind of a guy. And is that maybe because I have low expectations of people? I don't know. I'm just throwing those thoughts out there to the group. So, but do any of us, just need to lower our expectations, or is that wrong to lower our expectations and we need to deal with it, the lack of gratitude from other people in a different way? So,
What does it mean, Josh and Mitch, doing like this? What do you mean by
I think too often, especially nowadays, we're asked to lower our expectations and our expectations of people, right? So I don't agree. My expectations of everybody are extremely high.
I agree.
Like-
I think that, sorry, Josh.
No, you're fine, Mitch.
I agree. I think that our culture and the world I think that there's a sin there. And I'm thinking back a couple of weeks ago, Chris's message on excellence. Scripture tells us to want, to desire things that are excellent, that are good, and God demands that. We're to expect and to look for and to hope for excellent. But I think that we can do both. I think that we should expect the best, and we should look for the best, and we should want that from ourselves and from others. And then we should also at the same time be thankful for what we have in the moment when it's maybe not what we expected.
My thought was, if we continue to lower our expectations, it leads to apathy.
And also, I don't think that if you say that you're thankful or that you have gratitude for receiving something or for an outcome that is not good, I don't think that would be authentic gratitude. I think you'd be sort of faking it. You'd be like, yeah, I guess that's good enough. It's not really what I wanted. Versus really being thankful for what you have in the moment and really, really genuinely appreciating that. I'm relating this to the team of people that I'm working with and some frustrating feelings and attitudes and things like that. And I'm recognizing one thing that I felt in that is, am I really appreciating each thing, each moment? And same thing in my personal life. Am I really, really appreciating, thankful for what I have in this moment today? Give me this daily bread.
thank you guys.
Much to be thankful for. I mean, so, but we should still be looking for and hoping for that.
I think Keith's question is crucial. And I appreciate that you throw this out there, Keith, because you see that Jesus did not lower his expectation.
Yeah.
He was surrounded by lack of gratitude,
Yeah.
and especially with Judas, and he knew everything that was going to come out of that relationship with Judas. Yet he demanded excellence. Even when the guy comes to kiss him, Jesus is asking a question and keeping that standard. Are you kidding me, dude? You're going to kiss me and then you're going to betray me here?
Right.
Mm.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, I think it's our reaction, right? When our expectations aren't met,
Right.
that is now our problem and not somebody else's,
Mhm.
right? How we respond.
Or I think it's even just expecting something. What is, it's that instant gratification that we are expecting something in return, which it shouldn't be. And that's a lot of what I struggle with too, trying to teach that to my kiddos, is like, hey, we're doing this out of a gratefulness of our ability to do it, right? You just bring it down to the lowest level. And I was thinking of a situation, I can get into it later, but where we were down a car, my car broke down, and we had asked Heidi's mom if we could borrow hers for a week. she was able to do it. We were super thankful. So I wanted to show my gratitude by cleaning her car and filling up her tank and giving it back to her. Well, I had done that and didn't obviously tell her about it. She came to show up and get it. And I was just filled that she was so like, Silas, you didn't have to do this. Like, my pleasure. It was the least I could do. And then a couple of days go by and Heidi comes home with like $50. I'm like, well, what is this? She's like, well, she wanted to say thank you. I was like, well, I was so infuriated that she was wanting to give me money to show her gratitude. I was so angry. Like I told Heidi, like, that wasn't my intention. I didn't want her to pay me to feel like she needed to do this. But after talking with Heidi, she's like, this is her gratitude for other things as well, because she knew that we had a huge medical bill from our dog, and she wanted to bless us with that. But for me, turning around seeing that, it was so difficult for me to accept that.
Yeah.
So that's something even on the other side of things, of just like gratitude back to gratitude. But I was like, no. I think she missed the whole point. But to me, it felt like ungratefulness, right? So
yeah.
Expecting
All right, thanks
something
guys.
else.
I got a jet. I'll talk to you guys in the future.
All right, we'll be in
Thank you,
touch, Keith.
Have a good day.
Kip and
Hey.
Marcio,
You guys,
also just-
before we
Yeah.
do get separated, I wish I would have thrown this out so Keith could hear it. Maybe I'll text him or share it or put it in the WhatsApp. Chris referred to that Harvard study on gratitude. Have any of you heard of a book called The Happiness Advantage? It is, I actually recommend it to my team. Funny, I'm going to start working on it today. I'm actually thinking about trying to get that book for everybody on my team at work and give them as a Christmas gift or, the holidays, whatever. But so gratitude was one portion of that study, but the author of this book led the first positive psychology course at Harvard. And actually, I think it was one of the first positive psychology courses taught on any college level. And Harvard did a lot of research around that subject, not just of happiness in general. And it's really fun reading because when you read the anecdotal research evidence, they're really interesting studies. You guys have probably heard of the one that Harvard did where they tracked people over the course of their life after they left school, and then they use a system to kind of rate their happiness. And their conclusion was that the main thing that the key ingredient is relationship. And so there's some other things around happiness. The main point being that it's really a choice, and by choosing that actually leads to other things. But all of that stuff, the interesting thing is that as you read that, like Chris pointed out, it's all biblical. So there's research done on these things that show that when we speak good things, when we think about good things, when we express gratitude, that there's actually physical, chemical changes and responses. It's all in the Bible. The Bible was telling us to do that, and so this backs that up. It's really fun. I just wanted to throw that out.
You had mentioned to me about this book. I remember when we went shooting the other day.
The Happiness Advantage. Yeah.
Kip.
Yeah, the discussion has brought me back to the early part of my life where I had created a quote that I lived by for many years. With no expectations, there can be no disappointment. And it leads to a lonely life. It leads to a lonely and empty life. And that's a quote that I've done away with and don't live by anymore, and have come to learn that disappointment is part of life. God is there. God already knows what he's going to do. God already has a plan for the disappointing times. And we just can revel in that, can trust in that, and see how he's going to provide, see how he's going to show up in those disappointments.
And I think it's amazing because this quote is compromising that expectation and that standard that we were talking about, like all the way. Yeah, you protect yourself from disappointment, but it's not the way of Jesus, right?
Right.
Well,
Because people,
you could easily take that to the next step, having zero expectation. What do you really get? You're partly getting rid of, eliminating hope, right? It's almost telling you to have no hope. And I'm pretty sure that hope is one of the things that we are supposed to cultivate and develop and have, which does cause pain. It does come with disappointment.
this week I had I posted you guys the presentation that Elon made to us to defend his case that our discipline is too harsh, to take his computer away from him for 120 days, when he told this kid to fuck off at school and call him he said, fuck off, you mother effer. He didn't say it, he wrote it. They were exchanging insults and through Google Docs in the school computer, and the principal got flagged. So imagine Wendy and I's surprise when we hear our son writing this to somebody. But writing this is the same as the words coming out of his mouth to somebody he's angry. He's never heard me saying it in this house. I think I've ever used those words when I was angry at anybody. I just, I can't, it doesn't come out of my mouth. I have to think about it and force it out. And so we took an opportunity to deal with a situation that was larger than just that which he wrote to the boy. We said, we really need to take his computer away from him anyway. So let's just like go all the way 120 days and no computer. So this has been about 2 months, and he's done really well. His attitude, he understood the gravity, I believe, and I've watched a ton of R-rated movies with him when the reason for the R is acceptable. We've sat through movies, and at times, we just fast forward or whatever we need to do. No more, because that was a privilege, right? Everything is a privilege. So this week he comes to us and he says, 120 days is too much. Everybody I tell what happened, they go like, what? Your parents are doing what? They think it's ridiculous. And I said, well, you know what? Why don't you just make your case? Just write down why you think. So that's when he took the time. So JP went through those slides because he did a presentation. He did a PowerPoint presentation to us on why we need to reconsider. And JP go through that, and he sent me a personal message. He said, you know what? We live at a different standard. And I was like, I said, JP nailed it, hit the nail on the head. Our standard is different. what is expected of us is different. So, I will make sure that he feels heard, that that we validate his argument, because that is super important, especially for somebody who is brainy, and Josh knows this, to validate his argument and allow him to feel heard, yes, but that gives us an opportunity to a conversation there, because the standard is higher. The standard is much higher. That is to address that question of the standard. So in that sense, here's what Chris left us with. Make gratitude a lifestyle. Be grateful for people first, and then express your gratitude in tangible ways.
Hmm. And how about expressing our gratitude towards God too? I mean, how are we really doing that? How are we showing God our gratitude? How are we demonstrating that?
Mhm.
Are we?
So Thanksgiving is coming, right? Gives us a great opportunity. I was going to ask you guys if we would start thinking of putting a gift together for Chris.
Or
And
Thanksgiving.
I think this kind of segues perfectly. I want to have a gift ready by the time that we get together for the conference. And I wanted to ask that you consider a financial gift to him. So I will find a way for this financial gift to make its way to him. Usually what I do is I deposit money to JP's account here, and I tell JP how much it is, and JP just transfers to directly in Brazil. So that's a way I've done it in the past. But so I'll leave you guys with that.
Does he use Venmo or?
He does. He does. Yeah, I can tell you how to make a gift get to him. You can always deposit to JP, and then JP can, or you can send it to me and I can send it. But just, between now and probably the week of the conference, just pray about it, think about it. And I thought it would be fitting if we did that. And then finally, so for Silas and Mitch, because you guys have been out of the loop on this. So we are going to go to Luther Haven on Thursday night. Thursday is the 2nd. So we will wake up in the morning on Friday, and we will start watching the conference at Luther Haven. I went there, I tested the internet, and I saw the accommodations. Because only 4 of us are checking in on Thursday night, and for what they're charging us, it was $170 for the entire time we were going to be there, meals included. We will not have dinner served to us on Thursday, so we will just, on our way there, we can pick up something and we'll eat on our own there. But then Friday they will serve us meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Darren is coming in on Friday evening, Mitch. He's going to spend the night Friday into Saturday. And he will spend Saturday with us. So he's going to work Friday and come in for the night. Something for you to consider, maybe Silas as well. I don't know what is the situation with Silas. But then Saturday we will be there until the end of the event in Brazil, and then we will drive back. Keith wanted to stay one more night because he's looking forward to being away from his 12 kids and just being with guys. So he proposed that. So I should get a quote on that too. But Josh is coming in on Thursday earlier in the day, and we're planning on probably getting to the place around 3 p.m. on Thursday. And we'll stay until Saturday or maybe Sunday. We'll see. But so Silas, let us know if you can make any of that. If not, if you can join us from your place, it's fine. Mitch, would love for you to come. We can go hiking there. I mean, the place is awesome. It's on the lake.
Yeah.
That Saturday we can take
As you're
some time
describing
off.
it, I'm regretting I didn't. I'm regretting that I couldn't plan.
Yeah, you should regret. All of you who have not.
So
should
Saturday,
regret it.
definitely come in Saturday morning, right? I'm going to come over and join you guys Saturday morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe,
And
I guess.
did Chris say the next week he's not going to be with us?
This next week,
This next week he's not going to?
this coming Thursday, I
Can-
believe.
Hey guys,
Can I-
Audrey, sorry to interrupt, buddy. I'm going to have to jam here.
Go.
Good
I'll
to
catch
see you
up.
guys. I hope you have a good day. See you soon, huh?
Okay. Just real
Okay,
quick and I'll let you
send it.
guys go. Can I practice my 10 minutes on you guys next week?
What is your 10 minutes? 10 minutes of what?
So on Saturday at the conference, there will be several of those pastors who will do a 10-minute speech. And it's what Chris is calling light in 10 minutes. So it's like TED Talks where you have a set amount of time to share something. And I will be sending out a video to them that they will play on Saturday with my 10 minutes. And I wanted to practice my talk on you guys on next Thursday. Can we do that?
Bring it
So
on.
you have to record a video?
I will record a video, and everybody who's going to be there will do it live. They will go up on the pulpit and they will do their 10 minutes. But people who are overseas, there are guys in Portugal, Japan, and us here. We will send in our pre-recorded 10 minutes, and they will play on Saturday.
So
So if you guys give me the honor,
Yeah,
I
I
would
do.
be grateful.
So I do have a recommendation when you go to record it.
Hmm.
Have somebody that you are looking at, whether it's like this, and then you're recording your screen. Because if you can see other people while you're talking, you talk much smoother than if you're talking to a screen in which there are no people. I
Okay.
promise.
I was just gonna suggest, Audrey, if you need a video recording person to help.
Yes. Okay, so here's my idea,
I
Silas.
could bring my camera and microphone, and it could be
Yeah,
something
then you
nice.
just
We could do it.
then you just talk to Silas, right? It'll
Mhm.
make it easier because then
Yes.
you're talking to Silas instead of just a screen.
Right.
You'll stutter
So-
so bad if it's just a
Yeah.
screen.
I
Here's
did
what I
it.
would- Yes, I was going to.
I did a I guess it would be kind of like a promo video for a guy that's doing like mental health coaching, and we used Heidi Studio and I can send a link to the video, but I'm assuming we can use Heidi Studio to do the recording, or somewhere wherever you would want. But yeah, I mean, I could use a camera and microphone and all that good stuff.
So what I was thinking about doing was to go downtown in the alleys. And what I wanted to do is I want to walk towards the camera and the camera walking away from me. So I'm walking the alleys for 10 minutes doing my talk. And I wanted to do it like around the time that it's dark.
Okay, we could do that. It's gonna be cold, but we could do it.
It will be cold. But I
Yeah, I've
just
done a
I
couple of
have
recordings at night in downtown, and it's this time of year.
I have there's a reason for that. So
Yeah, and we could do it low key. I've got a little GoPro with a little gyro stick that I can
nice.
walk backwards, and you can walk towards me, and I can have you mic'd up and all that stuff. So yeah,
Perfect.
when do you need it to them? Well, I guess we could talk offline. Never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I will
let's
reach
talk.
out to you. All right, love you guys. Thank you so much. And
Oh, I thought you were
we'll
going to
be in
practice
touch
your 10 minutes.
next week.
Oh, okay.
I'm working on it.
Sounds
Okay.
like Josh wants a sneak peek.
I know he will get it.
All right, my
All right,
friends.
you guys, love you. Have a good week.
Have a
All
good day.
right, we'll talk later, Audrey.
Mhm.